Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for the fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair. All topics are for entertainment purposes only. None of the information presented in this video or by VGIRLTV should be taken as fact. Every situation is based on personal experience. Pretty Image Boutique is located in the Centro Comercial de los Pueblos Mall, located in Panama City, just 15 minutes away from Tocumen Airport. We specialize in hair care, wig extensions, and much more. Come visit us. Pretty Image Boutique is located in the Centro Comercial. Hi, everyone. Oh my God. Hey, hi. Hi, Badinas. Hi, Amazing Oski. All right, guys. Hello. Welcome to the channel. Before we get in, I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. So let me know if you can hear me crystal clear before we jump in. So, and those of you who are already in here, please, before you do anything, I need you guys to hit the like button. For those of you who are following or watching on Instagram, please make your way down to YouTube because we are live on YouTube. So my YouTube people, can you hear me? Please let me know if you can hear me. We want to make sure that the audio is crystal clear because this is going to be an amazing live. I'm telling you, for those of you who always have so many questions about real estate and investing in Panama. So perfect. I am perfect. Okay. Before we dive in, first of all, hold on. Okay. I want to, first of all, thank every single person who donated to the toy drive. Okay, we have raised $1,000, okay, for the toy drive. So this wouldn't have been possible without you guys. I just want to let you know that every single child, we were able to purchase a gift for every single child. Thank you to you guys. So the only thing now that is missing is we are going to have a party and a celebration for the children. We're just not going to just give them the gifts like that. So for those of you who still want to donate, you can donate up to December 12th. Okay, but I just want to say, guys, you are so amazing. We got $1,000 worth of donations thanks to you. Considering the fact that I only started promoting this like a month ago. So I can't wait for you guys to actually witness the event that we're putting on. And I just want to tell you this: every single toy that was purchased were things that it was something that I felt like I wouldn't purchase anything on your behalf that I wouldn't purchase for my kids. So I just want to let you guys know that every single gift that was purchased was of quality. Okay, we spent every single penny of that $1,000 in gifts. We are buying a cake. We're getting cupcakes, decorations, everything to make this party amazing. So you guys are awesome. Okay. And if anyone else is still interested in purchasing anything, whatever, if we don't end up spending anything else, the money will be turned over until the school drive that is going to be happening in the month of February. Okay. So I just want to say thank you guys for that. What else? If you guys don't know, I do have the podcast version of this. So if you guys are driving in your car and you can't watch physically, you can actually listen on Apple, Spotify, where else? Every podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere where you can listen to podcasts. We are live on all platforms, so you guys can check us out on there as well. All right, so I don't want to keep you guys up because I know you guys have been waiting for this. I want to introduce my guest. He is a real estate agent here in Panama. This is my personal contact. So if you guys are members, you guys would already have known this, okay? He is someone who I trust immensely. And his name is Eric, but also known as Panama Property Guru on Instagram. So let us welcome our guest, okay? So welcome Eric to the podcast, to the channel, okay? And I'm so happy to finally have you on here because everybody always asked about buying property. Like that's like a hot commodity that everybody wants to purchase property here in Panama. But before we get into that, I want you to tell us about yourself. How long have you been in Panama and what made you decide to go into real estate here in Panama?
Okay, thanks. Thanks for having me. And so let's see, I've been in Panama for about 25 years, right? And I got into real estate because it's something that I always, growing up, members of my family were into real estate, and it was something that I always knew was a good investment and something that always caught my eye. So I started off investing into properties myself and then decided, I got a job actually, which was selling real estate for a company. So I was working under their umbrella. I didn't have a license at the time. And I was selling properties up in the mountains of Altos de Maria. So if anyone's familiar with that development up in Chami, it's a beautiful development. A lot of people retired up there. A lot of Panamanians have second homes up there. After that, I decided to get my license and, get into selling real estate myself. I think I do it more so for my own personal interest. I like finding deals for myself and people that I know, but also I like helping people out. So most of my business is referrals. I don't do a lot of advertising and what have you. I just really, really like helping people out. I like helping people get into solid investments and good homes for themselves.
I wanna piggyback off of what he says when he said he just does it because he really likes to help people. When I was looking, and this is just a little backstory, okay, and why I deal with Eric and why I will always recommend him to anybody who asks me for a real estate agent. When I was looking for, as you guys know, that I had a store in Metro Mall, and when the pandemic hit, the backstory, the mall still wanted. Even though all the businesses was closed and all the stores was closed, the mall unfortunately still wanted people to pay rent. Don't ask me how people were supposed to pay rent when the businesses was closed, but they still wanted everyone to pay rent. It was that point when I realized that it was either we had to leave or we would literally go bankrupt. Our business will actually just close down. And that wasn't an option. So we were looking places to move to, someplace that wasn't too far from Metro Mall. It was still local and that the rent was affordable. And so I reached out to Eric, and of course I'm thinking, hey, I'm gonna give him a cut, or I had to pay him a finder's fee. Eric did not charge me nothing, okay? And to me, being in Panama, it was kind of crazy because being here in Panama, if you know anything about Panama, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but it's very hard to find people that are truly genuine and they don't really want anything in return. And one of the things that I experienced with Eric, it was that he was genuine and he literally just wanted what was best. So from then on, I vowed that anyone who asks me, I'm going to point them into his direction because I know that they would be in good hands and I can actually put my hands in fire. For me to say I could put my hands in fire for someone is something real. So I literally could put my hands in fire for Eric, aka Panama Property Guru. Okay, so Eric, you're not Panamanian, correct?
That's correct.
Well, I know that. All right. So for a lot of people who are watching, they probably want to know how were you able to get involved in real estate as a non-Panamanian?
Okay, that's a good one because it's not easy, right? First of all, you have to have had your residency for 5 years in order to apply, and then you have to take a test, which is it's not easy. It's not easy.
Hmm.
And once you do that, you pass the test and you get a bond, insurance, and
Hmm.
register with the Minister of Industry and Commerce, and that's it. You're off and running.
Was the test in English or Spanish? I'm
It
just
was in,
wondering.
it was in Spanish, and I'll be completely honest with you. I had to take it 3 times.
What was it because it was Spanish or just because the laws are is different here in Panama?
Well, yeah, the laws are definitely different. The way things work here, completely different. But I want to say it was because of the Spanish and not because I wasn't capable of passing the
Got
test.
you.
Yeah.
So let's go into some of the questions that I know that people have asked as far as purchasing real estate here in Panama. Um, why is it safe to invest in real estate in Panama? I know some people have, they're kind of like on the fence on whether or not they want to invest here in Panama because of things that they've heard. Um, and sometimes they don't really they hear from other people and they don't have really good experiences. Like I know people that did not have good experiences with purchasing homes. I personally didn't have that experience. But what makes it, or how can you assure people that investing here in Panama is safe?
All right. So when we talk about safe, I think there's several different angles you can look at. So safe in the sense that, being outside of the United States, we tend to think, all right, what's going to stop the government from just taking my property at any time,
Hmm.
right? And we know that throughout Panama's history, they've been very, very respectful of private rights of property owners. So that's not something that's common practice here. You have a property, it's your property. Foreigners have the same rights as Panamanians when it comes to property ownership. So that's important to understand, right? And you can even own property in a type of structure like in the United States, you would say like an LLC or corporation. Locally,
Hmm.
people do it in the Sociedad Anónima or a private foundation. So you can even own properties in those type of structures, and they still have the same rights as a Panamanian. That's one part of the safety, right? The other part of the
Hmm.
safety is, okay, through the buying purchase, how do I know I'm not going to get ripped off? And,
Hmm.
this is one of those things where I try to tell people, listen, use a broker or a lawyer or a lawyer, right? Don't try to do this thing by yourself because it's different than it is in your country, regardless of where you're coming from. Canada, United States, Mexico, it's different here. So use a broker or a lawyer. It doesn't have to be me, but use someone,
Hmm.
all right? Someone that can guide you through, if you're buying from a developer, is it a reputable developer, especially when you're dealing with pre-construction, right? Um,
Hmm.
the property that you're buying, making sure that the property is owned by the person who's actually selling it and that it doesn't have any
Hmm.
liens against it. And when it comes to land, understanding the difference between titled land and derechos posesorio, which I guess is when someone just have the rights to possess the property, but they don't actually have title property. So understanding those types of things and making sure you have the right person guiding you.
Now, for those of you who don't know, what is a broker? Because, for some people, real estate or buying real estate is something new. And I don't want to assume that everybody knows what a broker is. So, can you break down exactly what is a broker?
Okay, so well, a licensed real estate broker is a person who's gone through that whole process, as I mentioned before, of learning the laws and everything concerning buying property, selling property, renting property, everything related to it. You take a test, you're certified, and you have to get an insurance so that you're bonded in case there are any issues concerning monies and what have you. There is some type of remedy, a third-party remedy in that sense. And for example, myself, I'm also a member of the largest real estate association in Panama. So, you get
Hmm.
these type of things that shows that the person has a certain type of official background to what they're actually doing. Because here in Panama, there's another thing. We do have an MLS, but it's not like in the United States. It's not used like it is in the United States. And we do have a lot of people who are operating as brokers, but they're not licensed, right? So that's an important thing to note as well.
Now, is there a website or some way that we could check and verify if a person is a licensed broker?
Yeah, there actually is the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. They have a page where you can see the names and the license number of all of the licensed brokers. So I can share that with you afterwards, and you can share it with your audience.
Okay, perfect. So guys, he's going to give me the link so that you guys can do your research, and I'm actually going to post it in the community tab. So any information or any links that's shared here will be linked in the community tab. All right, so I know that there's been ever since the pandemic hit, the banks are being very scarce with the amount of money that they're loaning, especially to foreigners, right? So that can actually affect the buying process, because from what I do remember from my buying process, if you are not, well, this didn't apply to me, but I know this from other people that I know. If you are not Panamanian, you're required to put down a larger deposit versus if you are Panamanian, you can put down less. I think that's what it is. Can you just break that down for me?
Sure. And it's not so much about being Panamanian and not being Panamanian. It's about where where your income is generated, where your income is coming from. So you could be Panamanian, but if your income is generated outside of Panama, you're treated as a foreigner to some extent, right? So, and a foreigner buying property is required to put down larger down payment. Could be between 30-40%, depending on the bank that you're dealing with.
Wow.
I've heard recently, though, that there is a bank that is doing 20%. I can't confirm that, but once I know more about it, I'll let you know. But right now, I would say 30%. There are some developers who are also financing, but they're requiring around 20-30% as well.
Now, if you are Panamanian, okay, and because I want to clear this up, if you are Panamanian and you work outside of Panama, so your income is outside of Panama, you are treated as a foreigner.
Well, yeah, to some extent as a foreigner.
Okay, wow, that is, well, I mean, I kind of understand why, because the bank wants to make sure that there's like insurance on their money, which is why you would have to put down a larger down payment, right? I just want to make sure that is, because that's the obvious, what I would think in my head, the reason why they require you to put a larger down payment, correct?
Right. They want to make sure you have skin in the game, so to speak, right? So, you come and buy a property, if you put down 5% and things are not like you want it to be for whatever reason here or there, you just turn around and walk away from it. They don't want that, right? Because they're not in the business of selling properties.
Right.
They want to make, yeah.
Okay. Are there any advantages of buying Panama in property? I mean, buying property in Panama.
Well, that depends on what you're doing, right? So let's say, for example, you're a foreigner, you want to relocate to Panama, and you're not at a retirement age. You could buy property that will help you get a resident visa. So right now, the threshold is $300,000. So if you buy a property at $300,000 or more, it fast tracks you for a residential visa in Panama. Then, 5 years after having that residential visa, you can even apply for citizenship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's one big advantage to buying property in Panama. The other property is just diversifying your assets, right? So we talk about diversifying generally, like saying you want to have real estate, and then you want to have stocks, and you want to have bonds, and you want to have whatever other type of assets. But you can also diversify within your real estate portfolio as well. So let's say you're invested in real estate in the United States, but you want to own property outside sort of as a hedge. And I say as a hedge because our economies don't run parallel. You may notice that sometimes when there's a recession, or not a recession, but the economy isn't doing so well in Panama. I mean, in the United States, in Panama, it's going steady along. Sometimes it's doing very well in the United States, and in Panama is not doing so well. So, you do sort of have that leverage, that difference there, but it is sort of a hedge for your property in the United States. Also, it's a good idea if you like to come to Panama, you like a place that's hot and you want to come 3, 4, 5, 6 months of the year and enjoy the weather here, enjoy the vibe here. And then when you're gone, perhaps have the place rented here. So it allows you to have that second vacation home and at the same time be able to make money off of it, cash flow. And if not cash flow, at least equity, because we've seen constant equity increase in the value of properties here.
I want to touch on what you just said. For people who don't necessarily, they're not at the retirement age, they purchase a home and they want to use it as an income property until they got. Now, Airbnbs are legal in Panama. However, Airbnbs are not legal in Panama City. So let's get into that a little. Let's clarify it because it can get very confusing. So I'm gonna leave this to you because you can explain it better than I can.
Okay, so it's not that Airbnb is illegal in Panama City, right? And you're right, outside of Panama City in the beach areas and what have you, it's open. In Panama City itself, there's a restriction, a minimum of 45 days. So you have to at least rent for 45 days. You can't rent for weekends, a couple of days and things like that. However, there are a few projects that have a special permission. It's sort of a hotel license, right? And we see this with several of the new construction projects where they have this permission. They even have in-house property management. And they've done a lot of the things with the property so that it makes it very easy for the owners to do Airbnb, for rent by owner, FRBO, bookings. So they're using several short-term rental platforms in order to rent these places out. It's actually the numbers that I've seen are very conservative, and the return is pretty good.
Wow, that's like good to know. Amazing Oski wants some clarification because I'm confused. Are you saying that the loan for a home in Panama has to be financed with a local bank, but we have to put down 30% of the cost?
That is, well, okay. So when you say have to be, it doesn't have to be. You can pay cash for it, so you don't have to finance it. If you can, I've seen people use several other methods in the United States for getting loans there. You can't get a mortgage in the States for a house in Panama. That won't happen. However, you may be able to find a hard money lender. You may be able to take equity out of a property that you currently own and use that cash, or take out some other type of personal loan. Any type of way that you can get access to funds there that's not tied directly to the property, you can use those funds to purchase a property here. That being said, if you're using a local bank to get a mortgage and you're not making your money here in Panama, they're going to ask for 30% down.
Now, how does property taxes work in Panama? So let's say you buy your home. Are you required to pay property taxes in Panama? And if you are required to purchase property taxes, not required to purchase. If you're required to pay property taxes? Wow, I'm like tongue tied. Who do you pay it to? How would you go about paying those taxes?
Okay, good question. For property taxes, a lot of properties in Panama are tax free or tax exempt, not tax free, but tax exempt, because they have a table, and the table is, forgive me, but I think it's up to 120,000. You don't pay any part. You're exempt, and then from 120 to 180, you might pay 0.5%, and then from 180 to another amount. So it's tiered. That's how you pay it. Years ago, I think they stopped this about 10 years ago. But before that, all of the new homes that were purchased were 20 years tax exempt. So many of those homes still have that exemption. And if you buy one of those, you're grandfathered in for the tax exemption. Right? So that's the property taxes are paid on a tier basis. The first 120,000 is exempt. And again, I can share a link to you, a link with you with that information, so that you have that for your audience as well. Who do you pay to? You pay to the DGI, which is the tax department of Panama. You go to them, they have the formula, they calculate it, and it's good that you know so that you can calculate right along with them, so that you can pay your taxes. You can pay it quarterly, or you can pay it yearly. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of people in Panama don't pay their property taxes until they need to do something where they require a government pasisalo, which is like a certificate of good standing, right? So they they literally just won't pay the property tax until they need to do something where they need that pasisalo, or when they get ready to sell the property. So many times the down payment, they'll take that money to pay the property taxes, to catch up on their property taxes and be clear with the government and other things. But that's just how things work here.
Now, what if you buy land and you want to build on your land? How does that work?
All right. In what sense?
All right. So let's say I purchase land. And what if, let's just say, this is one example. I buy land, but a developer wants to build on my land.
Okay.
Can a developer build on your land if you own it?
If you have an agreement with the developer, right? So you make an agreement with the developer concerning earnest money or whatever, that's an agreement between you and the developer. When it comes, you're talking about somebody who wants to put a development on your land?
Yes.
Yes. So whatever agreement you come to contractually with the developer is fine. Yeah, that's done often.
Okay, Javier Belmo says, can a Panamanian living in the U.S. use their VA loan to purchase a property?
So I'm not familiar with, I think VA is for veterans, right? A veteran's loan. So I'm not sure if the loan itself is tied to anything. If the loan isn't tied to anything and you can do whatever you want to do with that money, sure, you can purchase property in Panama with it.
Global Sister Connection says, what is the average cost of a home outside of the city? Let's say a 3-bedroom, just to get an idea of the 30 to 40% down.
Well, average really depends on where outside of Panama City. I'll give you a very good example. I know, there's an area outside of, just across the bridge, probably about 10, 15 minutes, called Arrejan. Well, as soon as you cross the bridge, you're in Arrejan. But there's an area called Brisas del Gulf de Arrejan, not to be confused with Brisas del Gulf of Panama City. I recently saw a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a nice yard by Panamanian standards, let me put it that way, even furnished, and it was $105,000. Now that's an outlier, right? I would say around $150,000 outside of Panama City, you can get a nice home. But if you go to Costa Verde, if you go to Coronado, just depends on where you're going outside of Panama City, the prices can fluctuate.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the loan process, right? So let's say you apply, you put your down payment down and you're ready to apply for a loan with a local bank. How long does the process take?
Well, okay. So first of all, don't make a down payment without getting a loan first, without going to the bank and getting a pre-approval first, right? So you want to go talk to the bank. You want to tell the bank, you even, if you can, you work it out so that you can get the promise to buy contract, so that you can take to the bank and say, look, this is the property I want to purchase. These are the terms. Often they'll ask for an avalu, an appraisal. Show them the appraisal if you can. And the bank will let you know, okay, we'll do this or we won't. And they'll also let you know what percentage they'll accept down. So that's the first step. And then you make the down payment along with the promise to buy contract will have the contractual terms of how you're doing this, because you could even work it out so that you don't have to make the, let's say 30% down in one payment. Usually what people do will put some earnest money down to take the house or property off the market. And then in that process, you have the contract drawn up. And that's when you can go and do all of this process with the bank if you want to wait to that point, or if you're not doing it before. And then you could have a contract with the owner, because this is an agreement with the seller. that I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
pay my 30%. I'm going to give you 15% now, and I'll give you 15% next month, and then following that, we'll get the letter from the bank saying that they're going to pay. So it all depends on how you work it out with the seller. I've even seen if you come in and you buy a property, condo in pre-construction, and let's say the building still has a year or 2 years out before they'll have the occupancy permit, before they're finished with the building, you can even work out that down payment over that time. Many developers will let you do that. So you can make the 30% in 2 years. You can pay that over a 2-year time. So that makes it super easy.
New phone says, what if you're Panamanian but you are receiving a pension from the United States? Are you still required to put down the 30% on a purchase?
Yes, you are. It does help with the qualifying, right? You show the bank that you're receiving this pension in the United States and what have you. That helps you qualify for the loan, but you'll still be required to put down 30%.
Okay. Amazing Oski says, recently there was an explosion in a new condo building. Can't remember the location. I think it was in San Francisco,
Ovadia.
right? Oh,
Ovadia.
Barrio. I knew it was in that area. But a lot of apartments were damaged. Do people in Panama have to have home insurance like here in the United States?
Yes. And when you say have to have home insurance, when you're dealing with the bank, you do. You have to have home insurance and life insurance. You don't have to have home insurance if it's owned without any bank involvement. So let's say you purchase the property and you decide not to have home insurance. No, it's not required.
I don't know,
Not a
but I
good
don't really
idea.
recommend that. I was just
Yeah, it's not a good idea, but
I was just about to say, yeah, I don't really think that's a good idea.
and
Okay.
another thing, insurance in Panama, my understanding is a lot. I want to use the word cheaper, but it's a lot more
It is
affordable
a lot.
than the United States.
Yeah, it is. It is from my experience. All right. So Thomas H says, oh wait, wrong comment. Sorry. Where is it? Okay. He said that I've experienced pricing in the interior from 35K to 190 on average, but Eric may have different experiences. But I think when you say the interior is still so broad that the interior could be, it could be Coquelin, so I think,
Kitty King, Boca.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think I don't want Global Sister Connection to be confused on those pricing, because it, like you said, it all kind of depends on where the area is. So I always advise people, because I feel like people say, well, how much can I purchase a home for? And the thing, what people don't realize is that the prices of houses in Panama can vary. You got to really narrow it down to exactly where you want to live and what are you willing to pay. Because I've seen houses in here for $500,000, and I'm just like,
Oh,
what? You would think this is Panama. Why am I seeing homes for $500,000? But then again, you also have to take into
yeah,
consideration the neighborhood, what type of people live there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
People have this tendency to think, oh, it's Panama is so much cheaper, which is a
About
catch-22.
no, yeah. Don't come here thinking it's not Panama City. Don't come to Panama the city thinking it's much cheaper. I mean, you can still find deals in Panama City, and like the person asking the question, from 35,000, yeah, you can probably find a house in Panama City for $35,000-$40,000, but trust me, you may not want to live in that neighborhood. Right. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's the
Exactly.
thing, right? So you can find what you're looking for. Let me put it that way. So from 35 to 3.5.
Because I get a lot of people, they think is that they're going to get for $35,000 in Panama City, they're going to get a home in a gated community with a pool and all these
No,
different amenities.
no, it's
That's
not.
what okay. So for 35,000 in Panama City, what can you get with that amount of money?
Uh, you can get
And
you
be
can
honest.
right. You can get a house in an area where people are economically challenged, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may live on a street that the cars can't pass by, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's yeah, that's it's in the hood. It's deep in the hood for that price.
IM says 24 de diciembre neighborhood.
Yeah, 24 has its areas though. I've seen some nice homes in 24, some reasonable homes, reasonably priced. I've even seen foreigners who purchased in 24, right? But again, you're looking to immerse yourself in a very local way of living, right? So you're going to have bars on your windows. Your head is going to be on a swivel. That's the type of lifestyle I mean, I'm not knocking it. If that's what you like, go for it.
Amazing Oski says, is there a list of foreclosure homes available for people to see, or can you find those properties through a broker?
Most brokers should be able to point you in the right direction of foreclosures. Years before you had to deal directly with banks for foreclosures, but now they have a group of brokers that they deal with, and other brokers work with those brokers. So, yeah, there's all of the banks have lists of foreclosures, and unfortunately, that list is growing right now. But yeah, there's opportunity there for foreclosures. It's again not quite like in the States where the banks are just sort of accepting any amount of money for the properties. The local banks put the properties back on the market pretty much at market value with a little discount. However, you can make offers. So, you can go in and you can say, let's say it's a house is valued at 200,000. The bank is asking 180. You can go in and say, I'll give you 150. And many times the banks, just depending on the bank and how long they've been sitting on that property, whether they'll accept it or not.
Stacy C says, what do you think about the Chinese neighborhood? I do know that it's not gated, but it seems pretty quiet. Is this neighborhood recommended?
Okay, no, well, first of all, I don't recommend anything, right? I don't recommend anything because I don't want you to say, well, Eric told me to. No. I can like Chinese at one, when I first came to Panama, Chinese was like one of the neighborhoods to move in. Chinese was, really nice, and Chinese still is a nice area. You can find deals in Chinese, and I lived in Chinese years ago when I first moved back to Panama. I lived there, and no issues whatsoever. And another nice thing about Panama, so you get to know your neighbors, and everybody looks out for each other. Usually, not saying that things still won't happen, but generally speaking, you'll be in a good situation, right? Especially if you're a friendly person.
Okay. JB says, what's the average length of loans if you put down 30%?
Well, the loans range from, generally speaking, from 15 to 30 years. But I think with most foreigners, they try to put you in like a 25-year loan. It depends on your age as well, because they'll only finance up to the age of 75. So if this is
I was just about to ask that. About the age thing.
Right. So if you're 60 years old, they'll only finance you for 15 years. If you're 70 years old, they'll only finance you for 5 years.
Wow. So for someone who is coming to retire, because I think the retirement age is 62 in the States. I don't even know what the retirement age is. And then if they're only going to finance you for 5 years, do you honestly think it makes sense to even purchase a property in Panama?
Well, no, that depends, right? So maybe, generally speaking, people at that age have more resources, right? So, they're selling something in the States or selling some other asset where they can come in and they can make a bigger down payment than 30%. They may be putting out 50%, but I've seen, like most of my customers who have come here to retire and purchase are generally paying cash or close to it. Oh, let me clarify one thing, and this is something I don't know if this has changed, so would have to be verified with a lawyer. But in order to get a pensionado visa in Panama, you don't have to be a certain age. You just have to show that you're receiving an income, like a retiree's income. It could be um, what do they call that? Like from a trust, you could be receiving monies on a monthly basis from a trust or from some type of fund or something like that, and you could still qualify.
Okay, that's good information. New phone says Panama has a lot of newer high-rise apartments. Would you consider Panamanian building fire safety standards up to par? Everyone is freaked out about what happened with this last building, and I think everyone is rightfully they're right. They're in they have the right. Sorry, I don't know why I'm not speaking properly. To be concerned with this fire that happened with the new high-rise building. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're pretty safe, right? So even when you see, um, like months before, there was also another fire in a building on Via Argentina. I don't know if you remember that. And
Mm-hmm.
the fire was pretty much just, even though it was the top floor or next to the top floor, the fire maintained in that one apartment because of how they build in Panama. Like unlike places where they're building everything in wood, almost everything in Panama is built with concrete, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that that helps reduce that whole spread of the fire and what have you. You The fire department is being very strict with new construction concerning the number of areas where they have where water can be taken from and what have you. I think they're doing almost everything they can to control to make things safe, but you always have those incidents. When you look at the number of high rises that there are in Panama, I think we have more high rises than any other country in Latin America. And how often do you hear of these type of incidents? Very seldom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think another thing that they are taking into consideration, or another measure, even with, and this is just my experience, what I experienced, when I bought my washing machine, I have the washing machine and the dryer. You can't get anybody to install that. You actually have to get it installed by the exact company for that same reason. Because my washer dryer, I have the washer dryer, the one that's connected, and there's like a special with these homes. Gas line is actually outside, and so when they came to install it, they specifically told me, no, you can't get anybody to install it because now what happened with those fires, they're taking extra precaution, and now there's only like you have to be a certified, I don't know what you call those people. You have to be certified to install those washing
Plumber.
machines, the washing machine dryer. Yeah. So you can't get a regular plumber to install them. Like now they're like being extra strict about it. And so that's something that I wanted to share because I think that would give someone a little bit of safety or feel a little bit more comfortable.
I've even seen
Um,
recently, I'm sorry,
no,
just
go
to say,
ahead.
most of the buildings are now doing revisions. They're checking all of the gas lines and all of the apartments and what have you, and shutting down the lines whenever they're finding leaks and things. And I've seen some new construction where they're not even including gas lines. Everything is electric just to avoid those type of things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thomas H says, I heard through a friend that you can pull some sick stuff by doing a corp and a nice deposit in a Panamanian bank to get that 10% down and loan approval. Is that one way, Eric?
Um, all right. So let me see. You can do by opening a corp and a nice deposit in the Panama. Well, somebody may have told you this who had been here years ago or something like this. A lot has changed with banking in Panama, right? So even if you were looking to buy, using a corporation to buy a property, to finance a property, because the corporation is local, they're going to ask to see income statements over the last 2-3 years. They're going to ask to see bank statements to look at the deposits and the withdrawals that have been happening within that bank account. They're going to ask for letters of reference from
Mm-hmm.
the people you say that you do business with. They've gotten really, really strict with that whole part of being creative. It's not as easy as it used to be. So, no, no.
And even like when you go open up a bank account and you have a social security, they're starting to like report everything to the U.S. government, especially if you are an American or if you have an American passport. I know Global Bank gives people a hard time with opening bank accounts. Banco General has now started harassing people with Social Securities, or if you're using a U.S. passport as a proof of identification. Because they ask you if you have a Social Security, because they're gonna report all that. So I wouldn't recommend anyone doing that, because yeah, no.
Well, yeah,
All right.
trying to hack the system, so to speak, is really difficult. Just do it the way it needs to be done. If there's some other things that you could probably do. Like I said, just making that you could do a private contract with the seller to make the 30% over a certain amount of time, if the seller will accept it. There's a lot of other things you could do, but trying to beat the bank, or just sort of take shortcuts with the bank, it's not going to happen. At least that's my experience.
Yeah. Carla Anderson says, what website would you recommend to look for properties in Panama?
Well, there's an MLS. The Acobeard MLS is a very good option. And also probably the most common one is Encuentro 24.
I don't know. Like, I just feel the website is so shady. It just reminds me of Craigslist, or Craigslist or Backstage. Like, I've heard and this doesn't have anything to do with purchasing property, but like, you know how it's like Craigslist. So everyone posts all kind of like, and I'm not, I'm just saying my experience. I don't want to talk bad about anyone's way of business, but I've heard situations where people got set up over there. So, they would tell you like, oh yeah, you can meet me to do this, and then they end up getting robbed. So, I mean, me personally, I feel like you should just go through a broker, a trustworthy broker, to avoid situations like that. I feel like
it costs you nothing.
Exactly. People always trying to go around and always trying to find, just shortcuts. And unfortunately, shortcuts here in Panama will actually, you may end up, paying for it in the long run. So just do it the right way and just use a broker. Okay. IM says, at least 3 apartment buildings that I know from Panama News have had lethal explosions due to gas leaks. The last building in Obarrio, are their apartment buildings maintained properly? So I think you already answered this already. And I am actually going to leave this up, this live up, so that for those of you who came in late and didn't catch the first part of the interview, or, the questions, you can go back and you can refer, because some of these questions have already been answered. JB says, please clarify the age guidelines. Please clarify the age guidelines based on age. Example, if someone is 50 or 62 years old, what's the length of the loan?
Up to 75. So if you're 62, that means you could get a loan for a mortgage for 13 years, right? If you're 58, I guess we have to do the math, right? 15 years, something like that.
Okay, Thomas H said
17 years. I'm sorry.
17. Okay, so JB, I hope that has clarified. Please let me know if your question was answered or you understand exactly what happened, because I don't want you to leave here confused. Thomas H says, I found nothing cheap in the city, but that depends on what you consider cheap, because what you may consider cheap is not what I would consider cheap, or what someone else would consider cheap. So that's basically, cheapness is in the eyes of the beholder. I guess that's what you would say.
Yeah, and oftentimes you see, I've run into people who say, well, I want the place on Avenida Balboa with the view of the ocean, 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, the pool and the gym, and I don't want to pay over $50,000. No, you're not going to find it cheap like that, right? So, I mean, it just depends on where you are, what you're looking for, and like I said, if you find a good broker, they can guide you in the right direction as far as, starting with what your budget is first. So we start with what your budget is, and then what are those things that you must have, and where would you like to be, and showing you how close you can get to that, right? Because like as I just mentioned, instead of being on Avenida Balboa overlooking the ocean, what about a nice apartment that's on Parque Omar? And if you're not familiar with Parque Omar, it's the largest park in Panama City. It's really nice, and there's some really nice properties around it. So it's just a matter of understanding what's available in line with what you desire.
So basically, people should be open, right? Because I think what is happening is that people are being guided on what is on YouTube only and what is known as expat communities and what people are marketing as expat community. So they're not like open or privy to other areas. And that's why I really wanted to do this live, because I wanted people to understand that you can get out of that, of what is going on YouTube, right? I get it, I'm on YouTube too, but there's more to Panama than just those two areas, which is usually Boquete and Panama City. But within Panama City, because when you think of Panama City or people wanting to move to Panama City, they usually think of Baitia as an expat community, or, you know, those areas. So me personally, I would suggest, and I'm saying this from my personal experience with buying, be open to other areas. And this is why why I would say get a broker, because brokers are familiar with the different areas. You can be open, find someone that you trust. I am recommending Eric because that's who I used and that's who I have experience with. And the thing about Eric is, you don't have to say this, I'm saying it, okay? Is that you can literally talk to him and be very honest about what you want, what your expectations are, and he will find exactly what you're looking for, okay? It may not be exactly as far as like you want this penthouse suite and you only want to pay $10,000, but he can help you to be open up your mind, give you the pros and cons of the different areas, okay? So I want you guys to get out that mindset, you know, whatever you're seeing on YouTube, just these expat communities, and just be open to other areas. So I would say follow Eric on Instagram. His name on Instagram is Panama Property Guru, okay? He just started his Instagram. But if you are a member, you've been a member and you've been following me for the longest time, you would know that his information is in the community tab. Okay, his information was in the community tab the whole entire time, but now you're just putting a face to the person. And then also, we did a video, I think it was like 2 years ago. I don't know if I think it was prior to the pandemic, and he had showed me a property that was for sale across the street from, it wasn't exactly across the street, but it was like kind of near Punta Pacifica Hospital, and I think that property was like 130,000, right? I don't remember.
About 150 or something. That was a really good deal at the time. Yeah.
It was a really amazing deal. And I'm telling you, follow him on Instagram, go in the community tab, get his phone number. You can reach out to him directly because I know some of you don't want to be members. Okay. You can go follow him on Instagram and you can connect with him directly and he can assist you. Even if you're looking for a rental property, guys, because I know some people, what about people who don't want to purchase a home and they just want to rent?
Yeah, that's very common. A lot of people want to come and know the place before they buy, which makes a lot of sense. Or they want to, experience the different areas. So they may stay a year in Panama City, then they move to Coronado and spend some time there. And while they're here, they move around and they see different places and talk to different people and decide. I've also seen people rent and say, you know what, I really like this. Find me something quick before the price before the price goes up, because they know the increase in pricing. But yeah, renting is also an option. I will be completely transparent that, if you're coming and you're looking for a place for $400, $500, often $400 or $500 a month, you can find those. Those owners generally don't deal with brokers. I'll be more than happy to provide you with links and answer any questions that you have, no cost. But just looking out, just want to make sure people get in a good situation. So I'm here.
Amazing Oski says there was a recent article about an area in Panama called Santa Maria. The area looks more like the USA. The prices are outrageous, like $800K and above. Why are they so expensive?
Well, because the people who can afford to live in those places, they want the best. They want something really nice. And believe it or not, Santa Maria is in high demand. It's
Mm-hmm.
adjacent to Costa del Este, which is
Mm-hmm.
also very nice. It's sort of an exclusive community within an exclusive community. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Santa Maria is very nice. Golf course, Jack Nicholson Golf Course connected to it. There's also an office park near that's associated with it. So it's expensive because it can be. Believe it or not,
Right.
There's people in Panama with that type of money and a lot more. 800,000 is that's toward the cheap end of Santa Maria.
And the thing is, like, people want to, there are people who are, there's certain caliber of people and they want to keep certain people out. You know what I mean? So they don't want to be accessible to every and anybody. So just like the USA, where you have these multi-billion-dollar homes, is the same thing applies to Panama. I think people just think, oh, it's Panama, everything is cheap. Yeah, well, there's people here that also have lots of money and they want to be around like-minded individuals. I get it. I'm not judging. Okay, I'm not judging at all. To each his
Yeah,
own.
yeah, and there's like they say, there's a lane for everybody here, right? So if you're a crypto
Exactly.
millionaire and you want to live top, top luxury, there's something for you here. If you're on a budget and you just want to, have that freedom and enjoy the climate, enjoy the vibe, and enjoy the freedom of moving around, there's something for you here. You can definitely find a place for you to feel comfortable.
Thomas says, Eric, okay, you got any more? Okay, I'm going to speak the right way. Do you have any more of those condos, apartment pre-buildings?
There's lots of pre-construction going on in Panama. There's lots, not as much as there was in the past, but there's still and some very interesting prices. You can find some stuff. Just put somebody in a place. I didn't put them in a place. Someone allowed me to help them find a place for 120,000 near and in a nice neighborhood, nice condo and pre-construction near metro station, supermarkets and stuff like that. So 100. I think there's some places still maybe a couple blocks off Avenida Balboa for 100,000, maybe 95,000 pre-construction. So whatever, yeah, there's still lots of pre-construction available, and that's just here.
Now, go ahead. Would you recommend, the new constructions or the old model homes?
Well, new construction is a lot smaller. You're going to pay more per square meter. They're going to be smaller units. Some of the older units you can find better deals with. But again, you lose that facility to be able to pay the down payment over a certain amount of time when you do that. So if you do have, if you do have the funds available now for the 30%, you can find a really good deal with older construction. No question about it.
Okay. I think everyone else who are leaving comments, they have specific questions. And I know our show usually goes over a little bit an hour, but Eric has to go. He is also, also has a business. He sells, what, you want to plug in your business just in case anyone's interested in?
Okay, yeah, we have a business that we have business located in David, Santiago, and Panama City, which is one of the reasons I travel around the city so much and know what's going on in these different areas because of, just checking up on the business. But we have a business that sells pastry supplies, the ingredients, tools for making cakes and pastries and what have you. And we also give classes. So we have a schedule of classes teaching people how to make cakes, how to decorate cakes, cookies, and all of those different types of things.
And what's the name? How can they find
That's
your
Annabella's
business?
Cakes. Annabella's Cakes and Supplies. So you can find us on Instagram at Annabella's Cakes and Annabella's Cakes and Supplies.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually link it in the community tab after we get off this live. Someone said you look like Obama. um, so this was actually a really, really good live. I think it was very insightful for those of you who are interested in either purchasing property or renting property. For those of you who have specific questions and specific real estate questions, I advise you to contact Eric. He has a wealth of information. He will lead you in the right direction. He is honest, so he's not going to try to get over on you. And one thing that I do appreciate is that he has another way, another income. And usually what I realize, and this is from my personal experience, when people have another income or they're working outside of real estate, they don't really have anything to lose, right? So it's like you're forced, oh, I need this sale, I need this sale, I need this sale to eat. So for me, when I'm dealing business with anyone, I always look to make sure that this person who I'm dealing with, they have another way of getting income, because then I won't feel like they're trying to jip me or try to get over because this is not the main way, right? So again, people, please reach out to Eric on Instagram, Panama Property Guru. His information is in the community tab, okay, for the members, his phone number. If you don't want to go through the members tab, you can contact him directly through DMs on Instagram, and he'll get back to you. Just before, there's 39 people right now in this live, so make sure that every 39 of you hit the like button before you leave. Eric, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing a little bit of real estate information for people. Again, I see people are still coming in with questions. Some of the questions already have been answered, so you guys can watch this on the replay. And you can also contact Eric directly. So thank you so much, Eric, for coming through. Thank you to the V Squad for watching this video, was live, being a part of the live. You guys are always appreciated. Wow. And just make sure that you hit the like button on your way out and leave a comment in the comment section. Not this comment section, but the other comment section, okay? So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And as usual, I will see you this Friday for those of you who are interested in break room conversations, where we talk about all current events and everything that doesn't necessarily have to do with Panama, okay? You know, when you're on your lunch break and you don't want to talk to your annoying coworker, we meet up here every Friday at 12 p.m. for break room conversations, and we will see you next week. So bye, guys.